So far this summer we have seen 16 signings made by Championship clubs which have cost a transfer fee, and in today's video we're going to be ranking all of those deals by how well I think the players will do next season. Guys, if you do go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do get your thoughts on this one down below. Now for the sake of today's video we're only going to be talking about transfers which have cost a transfer fee so far this summer, so we're not going to be taking into consideration players who have joined clubs on free transfers or loan deals. I'll do a separate video for those players. But for the sake of today's video, these are the four categories we're going to be playing with. Unsure, one for the future, so someone who I don't think maybe will make an immediate impact, but someone who will be good long term, a good signing, or a top deal. These are the 16 signings so far that have cost a transfer fee in the Championship, and we'll put them all into the tier list. I have to be honest, Jack Taylor signing for Ipswich from Peterborough for a fee of around 1.5 million. I really think that one's a top deal. He was one of the outstanding midfielders in League One last season, an all-action midfielder, 9 goals, 6 assists, got booked 11 times as well, doesn't mind getting stuck in. I was quite surprised that no one decided to go in for him after a season in the Championship that he had with Peterborough, but another good campaign for him in League One, and I think that in a few years' time there's every chance that with the right development Ipswich turn a profit on Taylor and he could have quite the impact on their Championship campaign next season as well for me. So for me, that one's a top deal. But one deal which I'm unsure about is the Tyler Roberts deal. He's joined Blues on a permanent basis from Leeds United. He spent last season out on loan with QPR. Wasn't the best loan spell in the end. While he did have some moments of quality, he missed quite a chunk of the season through injury and got moved around a little bit, played in a few different positions. So depending on where Birmingham play him, whether they can get the consistency out of him in terms of match fitness, that remains to be seen right now, because of all the deals that Birmingham have done, I've probably got the most question marks over that one right there. Right, similar occurrence for Taylor Richards. He spent last season on loan with QPR from Brighton, and that deal has since been made permanent. I'm a little bit unsure about that one. Definitely got the natural ability. He made 15 appearances in the Championship last season for QPR, but only one of those matches were starts. Suffered with injuries, quite similar to Roberts, and so I'm not quite sure where his level's at right now. I definitely think that a full pre-season with Ainsworth will help him, and if he does build up that basis of consistency and manages to keep himself fit for a full season, but without knowing all the ins and outs right now, it's another deal which I've got a few question marks over after how the loan spell went last season. Joe Bellingham signing for Sunderland from Birmingham in a deal worth £3 million with add-ons. Certainly not a cheap one. I'm going to chuck him into the one for the future category. I'm not sure he'll make an immediate impact at the Stadium of Light. I think that ultimately Sunderland have invested into potential, and there's certainly that there. Got quite a few minutes under his belt last season, to be fair, with Birmingham. We've all seen how Jude's gone on to do since leaving St Andrews, really gone from strength to strength, and Sunderland fans will be hoping that his brother will follow a similar career trajectory. There's definitely the potential there, but I'm going to chuck him in one for the future because I'm not sure how much of an impact he'll make in the first team next season. Rob Dickie signing for Bristol City. I'm going to say that's a good signing, joining from Queen's Park Rangers. Probably didn't have his best campaign last season, certainly compared to his previous years at QPR, but Bristol City moved fairly swiftly with getting that deal over the line, as they have done with some other transfers so far this summer. All things considered, I've always quite liked Dickie, to be honest. I think he's had some solid years at QPR. I think he'll be a good addition into that Bristol City side next season. Birmingham signing Christian Bielik, I think is a top deal, you know, considering the money they paid in the end. I think less than £1 million. This was a player that not too long ago Derby spent £8 million on to buy from Arsenal. I get that since that point he has had a couple of long-term injuries which have affected him, but he played 37 matches for Birmingham in all competitions last season, so clearly has put those injury issues to bed. Thought he was a really solid performer in that Blues squad last season, and at his best I think is one of the best holding midfielders in the Championship. So for a fee of less than £1 million, I'm saying that one's a top deal for Birmingham. Gone about their business, like I say, really quite well so far. Conor Cody in at Leicester definitely has the potential to be one of, if not the best defenders in the Championship next season. Still think he's Premier League quality. With that being said, still think the fee that Leicester have ended up paying is maybe quite pricey, 7.5 million in the end, considering that Everton had the choice to sign him for just 4.5 million when they had him on loan. Obviously decided not to take up that option in the end, but Coady's a player who knows what it takes, how to get out the Championship promotion with Wolves previously. He's a real leader, and I think that Leicester lacked that at times in the Premier League last season. They had one of the shakiest defences in the league, and just generally his experience and know-how will be really good around the squad. So in no doubt about his overall impact. I think I'm going to put him into good signing though, just because I feel like maybe Leicester slightly overpaid for him, but if they go on and get promoted in their first season with Coady being a spearheading that, then there's no complaints over that deal. Nictorious Torrantis coming over to Sunderland. I'm also going to drop him into the one for the future column along with Bellingham. Not sure how much of an immediate impact he will have at the Stadium of Light, but I definitely think that Sunderland have once again been investing into the potential there. Jensen Seelt, I'm also going to drop into that good signing category. He's another one who Sunderland have invested in terms of potential, being just 20 years old, but he is someone who I think is slightly further ahead in his development than some of the other youngsters that Sunderland have invested into so far. He's played over 60 matches in the Dutch second division. He stands at 6'5", a real towering presence at the back. And they have also spent a fair whack on him, around €2 million, I believe the fee was around about. Obviously it's hard to comment on someone that I've not really seen play in the flesh yet, but going off all the clips I've seen and what's been said about him so far, I think that has potential to be a really good signing with the potential of being a top deal in the future. The biggest deal we've seen go through in the Championship this summer is Harry Winks to Leicester for a fee of around £10 million, which does seem like a lot on the surface, but when you consider Maddison's just headed in the opposite direction for £40 million, if you consider that deal to be £30 million plus Winks, suddenly I think this deal's looking a little bit more favourable. And listen, Harry Winks is still a Premier League quality player, there's no doubt about that, and in the Championship, if he keeps himself fit, I think has a stab at being the best player in the league next season. I really do. Spent last season out on loan in Italy and did have some difficulties there. Spent the first half of the season out injured and then got himself back fit for the second half of the campaign. But overall, while it is a lot of money that has been spent on him, I'm going to say top deal. He's got the potential to be the best player in the Championship next season, and I'm a little bit more confident in long term Harry Winks being a natural fit for that Leicester side, maybe going back into the Premier League, than I am with Coady, and considering the money spent on both players. So overall, I think that has the potential to be a fabulous deal for Leicester. Tom Ince, a really interesting one. Don't know why, I've just got a bit of a gut feeling that this may not turn out to be the best of moves. I'm not sure he'll put up the same numbers in a Watford shirt than he did at Reading when he was sort of the central hub of all their creativity. I think he'll be maybe a little bit more of a rotation player. However, considering he signed for a fee of around £50,000 in the end because of his relegation release clause, it's a relatively low risk signing for a player who did put up good creative numbers in a Reading side last season that ultimately struggled. So all things considered, it's a solid signing, I think, for Watford, albeit I've got a gut feeling that maybe he won't do as well in a Watford shirt than he did do at Reading, but that's just me. Ross McCrory, I think, is a pretty solid signing for Bristol City. Very much look forward to seeing how he gets on in the Championship. Can play in a variety of positions, fills a lot of gaps for Bristol City next season. I'm looking forward to seeing him play, and overall I'd say that's a good signing for them. Kevin Nisbet signing for Millwall. Now this had been a long-term pursuit. They'd been interested in the Hibernian forward for quite some time, and in the end paying a significant 7-figure fee for his services. While in Scotland has had a really good strike rate for Hibernian, 39 goals in 101 appearances, it's always hard to tell how those sorts of numbers will correlate to form in the Championship, but going off play style and thinking about how a potential forward line for Millwall could look with Nisbet added to the likes of Tom Bradshaw and Zian Fleming buzzing around, I think this one does have the potential to be a top deal. It's always a risk. Players coming over from Scotland, we never quite know how they're going to do, but gut feeling right now is I think that one could be a top deal. Lewis Semedo is a player who I'm very excited about next season for Sunderland. Got the physical stature, standing at 6'2", that Sunderland maybe lacked in the final third last season in the absence of Ross Stewart for a lot of that season. I'm going to chuck him into the one for the future category, I think, for the time being. He exclusively featured for Benfica's B side, their development side last season, and so yet to make that jump into first team football. but with that being said, comes with a big reputation. Brighton were also said to be sniffing around at one stage, and we all know how well they tend to do with their recruitment. In the next 2 or 3 years, I think all 3 of these recruitments, along with Seal, who I see a little bit further along in his development than these 3, I think will turn out to be top signings for Sunderland. Javier Simmons, I'm going to chuck into the good signing category. He was on loan at Hull last season from Chelsea, and they've since made that deal permanent. When it comes to potential and his seat, when it comes to his potential ceiling and what Hull have invested in there, no questions for me, that's a good deal. Finishing off then with Ethan Laird, who has signed for Birmingham. I'm going to put that one into the top deal category. I really think that that could turn out to be one of the signings of the summer. In the end, a transfer fee of only around about £500,000, which seems extremely cheap for a player who was in such high demand just a transfer window ago. At that price tag, I am amazed that more Championship clubs weren't in the running for this signing. I think that Birmingham have got an absolute steal with that one, considering his ceiling of potential. And yes, he did tail off in the second half of last season while on loan with QPR, but I think that in the right environment, with the right coaching and right people around him, he could absolutely flourish in that Birmingham squad. But there we have it, guys. Those are my sort of verdicts on the 16 biggest deals we've seen go through in the Championship so far. Let me know your thoughts on them down below. And if you'd like to see a similar ranking for the loan deals which have gone through so far, or the free transfers, then make sure to show your support on today's video. Apart from that though, guys, that will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.